Hello and welcome to Gemcast. Let's get us up to speed. What do we mean by origination?
We originate investments and the deals that we put our capital to work with. You need a huge network, whether it's local law firms, whether it's local accounting firms, auditors, a lot of referrals from that group of people. If we've done our job right, we should be doing a lot of repeat business. In DM, too much capital chasing too few deals. In EM, we have very finite amount of capital and there's more deals than we can look at. You just cannot be a hero in this industry.
Yeah.
You need a very strong team all around, not just Gemcorp Capital, but also Gemcorp ICS, which has, I think, about 450 people on the ground every day, 24/7. What makes a great deal is...
Hello and welcome to Gemcast. Today I'm joined by Selim Basak, our co-founder and head of origination here at Gemcorp Capital. And we're naturally talking about all things origination. So who better to be joined with than by Selim? Selim, let's get started the way we always do on Gemcast. Tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got here at Gemcorp, and what about your passion for emerging markets?
Sure. So my journey starts in Istanbul, Turkey, where I grew up in the 70s, 80s, in a very difficult environment because, it was high inflation, lack of hard currency.
Yeah.
There was a period in which, you couldn't leave the country, more than once a year because there was literally no dollars available for you to travel. So, having lived through that, and then it got better in the 80s. And then I went to university in the US, and that's where my finance career started.
Okay.
My first job actually was in New York at Merrill Lynch on Wall Street, and a big trading room, back in the day before, everything was electronic. It was a loud, big room, people actually shouting at each other. So it was a, really exciting beginning for a university graduate.
Yeah.
And then from there, it went on for 20 years at three big banks.
Yeah.
Merrill Lynch, which became Bank of America.
Yeah.
Merrill Lynch, Deutsche Bank, and Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
Where actually I met the other two or three co-founders that we have here at Gemcorp. So that actually, if you do the math, 11 years at Gemcorp, that makes me 32 years in the market, in the EM space.
Okay. Can we officially call you an emerging market veteran then?
You can, I think so.
Good. Yeah. An official veteran, right? 30 years is the benchmark for a veteran, I think so. Okay, then. Fascinating. And I guess I always say this whenever we have our guests on here, we have such a diversity of people and we have such deep experience in EM. It's always so inspirational to talk to you all. Look, let's get us up to speed. What do we mean by origination? What's your job involve?
Yeah, it's actually a funny word. Like a lot of people don't understand, when I show my card, it's like, what does that mean? More in the, more frontier EM places, especially. And I just say to them, look, we originate the investments and the deals that we put our capital to work with.
Yeah.
So that's called origination, but why does it matter? Because that's how we find transactions, deals to put the capital to work.
Yeah.
So, if we only see one or two deals a year, that's very low.
Yeah.
But if we see 500 deals a year, that's a much different proposition. So that's why origination is important, in that we want to be able to see as wide a opportunity set as possible, and then do our, filtering and scanning and finding the right ones.
Okay, so kind of it matters in the sense that you are filling the hopper, as it will, of the fund in terms of the kind of transactions that we're doing. So, like, how do you go about that process? You've got the whole of emerging markets to cover, which is, I don't even know, like 80% of the world, whatever percent of the population. It's just absolutely crazy. Hundreds of countries. Where do you start?
So, I think short answer is focus.
Okay.
But, there's many ways to originate, right? We could actually be sitting here every morning waiting for the phone to ring, for some bank to call us and say, hey, we're working on XYZ transaction. Would you like to be part of that? So that's one way. Yeah. And we do that too. We're very open. We speak to pretty much all the leading banks, whether it's global or regional. Yep. But that's reactive, right? Okay. We're waiting for the phone to ring. The opposite way is to be proactive. You go out and find the deals that best suit you.
Okay.
But that's not easy, right? You can't just be waking up one morning and say, I'm originating. You need a huge network, first of all.
Okay.
And that network comes with having been in the market, having built that Rolodex of people that you've been dealing with, day in, day out. There's this network effect.
Sure.
And then on top of that, going back to my point on focus, if we're focused on a certain jurisdiction, a certain country, in that area, we need to be in that in the fabric, in that whether it's local banks, whether it's local law firms, whether it's local accounting firms, auditors, service providers. We get a lot of referrals from that group of people.
Okay.
And then, if we've done our job right, we should be doing a lot of repeat business. And that's one of the key themes at Gemcorp. That way, my origination work is actually much less because, I'm getting a lot of, counterparties who basically maybe pay down the debt and they want to do the next round. It's not easy, but once you're in it, it works. On day one, when we first set up Gemcorp, when I went on my first origination trip, I had a new business card in my hand. It didn't say the name of the big global bank I used to work at. And it said Gemcorp. So I had to knock on doors and say, here we are, new beginning. This is our setup and this is how we can help you. But now, 11 years on, it's actually a lot of reverse inquiry because people have heard that we've done a transaction in the telecom space in a certain jurisdiction. Other similar companies in that sector hear about us, call us. They want to have they want to basically ride on the experience that we built, maybe with a competitor of theirs, to also help them. So there's a lot of the information flow is massive. It's two-way. Us projecting outwards, but also reverse inquiry coming in through all these.
But the reverse inquiries don't come in unless you kind of do the work otherwise, if you know what I mean. To your point earlier about the bank will call you because I guess they know you've got capital, but to get the right inquiries is kind of part of the network effect that you're talking about. Okay, so with our EM lens on, how does that differ to working in the developed world? Like, how would your role differ if you were sat in an Apollo or a Blackstone or whatever versus Gemcorp?
So I think we're in a very privileged position sitting in an EM space. And why is that? Just look at the numbers. The aggregate number of private credit dollars available at the moment in developed markets is $1.7 trillion. That's $1.7 trillion needs to find a home, needs to be put to work. And then contrast with emerging market, and that's 12 times smaller, about 120 billion. And then when you go to more frontier places, you might be looking at only 1% of the capital being available. So when developed markets, private credit transactions happen, there's a lot of competition between different lenders, and borrowers will compete them out. And then it could be sometimes a race to the bottom in terms of pricing, economics, maybe covenants, covenant lights. More and more people are talking about this. Whereas where we sit in EM, it's the opposite way around because there's less money available than the opportunity set of deals. On one hand, in DM, too much capital chasing too few deals. And we have very finite amount of capital in EM, and there's more deals than we can look at. So when I look at my pipeline of new deals at the moment, in our origination team, I think there's about 46 deals that we're screening and filtering at the moment. And we might end up doing maybe a handful, maybe 3, 5, depending on, we have to, each deal is different. But what I'm saying is that we'll be cherry picking the best deals from a risk return profile for our portfolio. and our investors.
So we can be highly selective in finding the best of breed, whereas in a market where there's a high volume of capital, you're just sort of scraping around and competing with each other. Okay,
Correct.
Makes sense. So what makes a great deal then? So what are the ones we cherry pick? Why do we choose them?
So maybe just a opening comment, which is that a lot of what I do as an originator is actually listening.
Okay.
If I'm
This
in a room,
podcast must be hard then, right?
yes. Listening, because why am I listening? I'm listening to what is the problem I'm solving for? Why does this situation require this capital injection?
Okay.
Once I understand all those dynamics and effectively what am I solving for, then we can actually go with a very bespoke financing solution. How do we provide the capital that we provide? So what makes a great deal is the deals that I love is when we unlock a situation, right? So without the dollars that we put on the table or into the balance sheet, something is not going to happen.
Yeah.
It could be, for example, a last mile financing. We've worked on transactions where developer has worked on it for 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
And they're producing, but they just need that last 20, 30, 40 million dollars that unlocks a huge amount of uplift in their production. So those are the deals that I personally love when we really unlock something for them. So it's a huge opportunity. And that's when actually it becomes a bit of a partnership because, you're really helping your counterparty and they love you back.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I like about, what makes the question, what makes a good deal is if it's not a one-off deal, if it's a deal that's a beginning of a journey, a long-term journey with a borrower that we're working with. And a lot of them in the past, we've had, a journey we wrote maybe for 6-7 years with some highly, fast-growing companies, providing the capital they need to achieve their growth targets because they're in a jurisdiction where capital is scarce. Their normal financing sources is not sufficient. And someone like I can come in and say, I'm the alternative guy. I can actually help you fill that gap, whatever gap you have, and then ride that journey. So we had one company, for example, we did that in the telecom space. For 7 years, we helped them. And then in the end, they got large enough that they could actually get their own credit ratings and issue the cheapest form of debt in the capital markets in the form of a bond and take us out. Kind of happy days because, we rode the journey with them and now they've graduated into the big leagues and then we can move on to someone else. So for me, those are the important things. And of course, it needs to be structured well for a deal to be a good deal. And we spent a lot of time on that. And that's one of the things that we built at Gemcorp is that we almost look like a mini bank. Coming from banking DNA, all the founders worked in banks previously. We built the origination. Then once we originate, we want to be able to structure the transaction in the best way possible with all the bells and whistles, covenants.
Are you thinking about that when you're originating? Are you, because you obviously don't just flip it over to Felipe and say, "Hey, do your work," right?
Absolutely.
And I guess you think that's a structural advantage.
Absolutely. If I feel that it's not going to be that the bar that we have. If the conversation doesn't look like it can actually surpass that bar and provide all the bells and whistles that we need in the structuring of the deal. For whatever reason, maybe they don't have balance sheet, maybe they don't have the right accounting. It could be many, many reasons. So I'm already from day one, I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, can this pass the filter of our structuring team?
Let's think about that filter, because you talked about at the start, 6,000 relationships and it's X hundred companies, huge. I mean, even if it's 120 billion of capital, that's still quite a lot of ground to cover. How do you filter? To what extent is it in your mind and saying, hey, I'm drawing on my EM veteran status to work this out? Or is there like a checklist that you have? How do you think about that? And how are you doing due diligence as well? Because, how do you mitigate the risk in these situations, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, who am I talking to?
Yeah.
Is a key point, right? And, initially it's going to be some sort of a introduction or an old relationship.
Yeah.
We have some clients from our banking days whom we carried over to Gemcorp.
Yes.
People we know for 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
And they've basically, transacted with us. But if it's, first thing I'm thinking is, who am I talking to? I'm also thinking KYC, right?
Yep.
We're very forensic in that. Of course, on day one, we're not going to, put the resources to do that work. But eventually, before we close the transaction, we will have done a lot of KYC work, maybe, hiring outside consultants, doing a lot of intelligence work.
Yep.
So I'm already thinking about that aspect.
Yep.
Who's my counterparty? And then I'm also looking at, what am I solving for? Like I said before, what is the solution I'm bringing? And why does it make sense for that counterparty, for that company, or sometimes that sovereign?
Yeah.
I need to be able to sit in an investment committee and be able to explain all these things, because everything needs to make sense. There has to be industrial logic to what we do.
Yeah.
It needs to just fit the problem that we're solving. Okay.
That makes sense. How hard is that? That sounds very hard. I'm not sure I can manage that.
It is a team effort, right? And that's how I felt throughout my career. That you just cannot be a hero in this industry.
Yeah.
You need a very strong team all around.
Yeah.
People bringing different skill sets to the conversation.
Yeah.
I do what I can based on, like you said, my DNA and my experience set. Because a lot of times, when I'm in a situation, in a conversation, I'm thinking, actually, I've dealt with something very similar a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So, you kind of benchmark against those things, but that's at my personal level, which I would say is only maybe 5% of the effort. The 95% is everyone else in the team, within the structuring team, within the investment team, our finance team, compliance team, legal team. That's how we bring a deal team together. Yeah. And that deal team is living and dying by the transaction that is being worked on. And when you have that kind of a talent pool, it's actually hard, but it's very doable.
Okay. And you sort of mentioned Gemcorp, in the sense that we've been built from the start to almost be a mini bank, to originate our own deals, structure them, execute them. In EM, how important is that? You said at the start, a bank could ring you up. Like, let's say you just did that. Would your phone ring very much? Or do you really, my feeling is that our ability to originate, have repeat transactions, build the partnerships that we do is really powerful.
Definitely. And I think something we didn't mention so far is that Gemcorp, it's actually not just Gemcorp Capital, but also Gemcorp ICS, which has, I think, about 450 people in different jurisdictions on the ground every day, 24/7.
Yeah.
So that gives us, a lot of visibility as to what's going on. And oftentimes, if we're in a commodity trade finance transaction, we're able to have full visibility on, of course, on the dollars that I'm lending. Yes, I know that because I'm in Gemcorp Capital, but my sister company is actually managing that collateral, potentially moving it from A to B, warehousing it, storing it, selling it, generating the dollars that we need for the debt service. So, in emerging market, I think, we've created this niche, I would say, to be able to control a transaction end to end, not just provision of dollars, but actually, the use of that dollar. Where is it going to? How's it being used? And then, if something is not quite right, we know immediately, right? Not when I get a weekly report. If I'm just sitting in London dependent on somebody reporting to me, a third party, for example. We're in the weeds of the transaction. And in EM, you have to be so. I come from an EM background. I think vast majority of our talent pools also EM people. I can't remember how many nationalities we have, something like 30 or something.
Yes.
Probably 90% from EM. Right? So we know how things work. We know that sometimes, what it's, it may not be, what you see may not be the reality. There's some other things going on in the background. So you need to be really in the weeds of that. And that's how we built out. So to your original question, why did we build the firm the way we did? Yes, on the capital side, we look like a bank, but then we've also built the vertical integration, let's say, to make sure that whatever dollars we provide in a private credit transaction, we have full visibility on every single dollar.
Fine. I want to dig into something maybe a tiny bit more personal. You talked about your favorite deals are the ones where you sort of can unlock something. I was thinking about how you answered my first question about your past growing up in Istanbul. How much of that do you take inspiration from, actually, that history that you grew up with, actually unlocking things, delivering something, having an impact? Is that part of what drives you on every day?
Definitely. It really feels like we move the needle in some of the countries. Turkey, yes, but Turkey has a very good banking sector. So for an alternative lender, the opportunity set is not as good as, for example, some other jurisdiction. But we see how the dollars we provide, what difference it makes every single day. And that's definitely inspiring to me. We don't call ourselves an impact fund. We don't have the word impact in our fund document, on the headlines, let's say. But I see the impact every single day with the people that we work with, because I'm out there. That's my job.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's inspirational. Really.
Maybe just one last point on the, what makes a good deal. The other thing I really want to mention is that sharing risk with other investors is also a very powerful way to validate that we're doing the right thing. Because if no one else wants to come into our deal, share the risk. That gives you a signal. But the vast majority of our deals, we work with partners. Because we have the origination ability. And we have built this entire platform to be able to do that. And where we work on transactions large enough to invite other people into it, we've been doing that since day one. We have a very interesting group of like-minded investors, and that's across many different profiles. It could be a regional bank to a fund manager like ourselves in New York, for example. An insurance company. Sometimes a largest bank in one of the European countries, as well as development institutions, the multilaterals. They have really become partners of ours. And that tells me that we're doing something right in that on, I would say, 90% of the deals that we work on, we will have at least one or two different co-investors or syndication partners. That's a really nice way to validate what we do. And a lot of them actually love to work with us because they don't have the origination. They want access to good risk return. And for me to invite them and say, we've done the heavy lifting. Here's the data room. Go in, have a look. We're good for half of the deal. The other half is up for grabs. And for them, it's like I'm serving in a restaurant. I'm the waiter. I brought
you got your white gloves on.
I've put the plate on the table, and they can go ahead and enjoy the food. So they like that because they have the capital, but not the origination, for example.
Fine. So there's a lot about. I would have said that was oven ready, right? And you were saying fine dining. Maybe that tells us about our relative views of the world. But, last one then. So thinking ahead. So think about what we're seeing in the market. You're there every day, on the ground, on the phone, with your 6,000 contacts. Like, what are the big trends you're seeing in origination? Are there specific regions, topics, themes, areas where we're being asked for funding more or where we're more interested? Just kind of give me a sense of the themes.
I would say, if you look at global private credit, right? We've had a couple of hiccups recently.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a trend in the developed market.
Yeah.
And to my earlier point of too much capital chasing fewer and fewer deals.
Yes.
And maybe a race to the bottom. So they're basically at the sort of, in baseball terms, 7th, 8th innings maybe.
Yeah.
Whereas in EM, we're in the maybe 2nd, 3rd innings. Okay. So the trend that I see in EM is that the opportunity set is not getting any smaller.
Yeah.
It's, I think, getting bigger. And our ability to, screen more and more deals is growing. If I had double the AUM that we have today, I think we would have the ability to deploy that just as safely as we're able to do today.
Yeah.
So I think the future is bright for EM private credit.
Yeah.
For the next, definitely for this cycle, maybe even the one after that. And then we will continue. I want to use maybe the word mission, because what we want to do is bring capital into EM.
Yeah.
And the capital is not in EM; it's actually in DM.
Yeah.
So that's the other trend that I see. I hope if we do our job right, we will see more and more dollars flowing from DM to EM or global north to global south, whichever way you want to put it.
Yeah.
I see an acceleration of that. People are, especially compared to earlier, this year, for example, there's much more interest in EM. We're getting a lot more inquiries on that front. So I think, for EM private credit, I think there's a lot of upside, and I see the future as being very bright.
Wow. Well, that's a good moment to finish on. A bright future from Istanbul to New York and lots of other stuff in between. Really appreciate your insights, Selim. Very, very helpful. Thank you for joining us. If you want more information on Gemcorp, then please visit gemcorpcapital.com. Thank you very much.